If you don't guard your mind, the world will do your thinking for you. Welcome to the Rebellious Remedy. I'm Jonathan Ennis, founder of Dream Root Wellness. Here we return to Christ as the foundation of true health, body, mind, heart, and spirit, so we can steward our lives in faithful obedience to God's design. If you're ready to walk this out with others, you're invited to join the Dream Root Wellness Network. Join today at community.dreamrootwellness.com. Welcome back. Last week we talked about the physical branch. We talked about reclaiming the body, stewarding it, strengthening it, refusing to hand it over to a world that profits from weakness. This week, we move to the mental branch. And this one matters just as much. Because if the body is the vessel, the mind is the control room. Your thoughts shape your decisions shape your habits shape your direction, and your direction shapes your life. So if the enemy can get your mind, he can get a lot more than your attention. He can get your focus, your peace, your confidence, your discernment, your courage, your obedience. That's why the mind is under constant attack. Not sometimes, constantly. Noise, fear, distraction, propaganda, dopamine traps, false teaching, emotional manipulation, confusion dressed up as information. That's the air people breathe now. And because it's constant, most people don't even realize how it's affecting them. They think mental chaos is normal, that brain fog is normal. They think distraction or living mentally scattered is normal. They think reacting emotionally to every headline, every post, every crisis, every opinion is normal. These days, this type of thinking is all too common, but common is not the same thing as healthy. And if your mind is unguarded, the world will gladly do your thinking for you. Romans chapter 12, verse 2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God." That's the whole issue. Either your mind is being renewed or it's being conformed. There is no neutral. You're not standing still mentally. You're being shaped by something every day. So the question is simple. What are you being shaped by? The war for your life doesn't start out in the open. It starts in the mind because your thoughts are upstream of everything else. If your thoughts are disordered, your life will be too. If your thoughts are fearful, your decisions will be fearful. If your thoughts are lazy, your habits will be lazy. If your thoughts are bitter, your words will be bitter. If your thoughts are confused, your direction will be confused. That's why mental renewal is not some extra credit part of Christian life. It's basic obedience. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5 says, "We demolish arguments and every presumption set up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." Notice how active that language is. Take every thought captive. Don't assume every thought that enters your head is wise, true, or worth keeping. Take it captive. That means your mind isn't supposed to be an open border. Everything shouldn't be allowed in. Not every idea deserves space. Not every fear deserves agreement. Not every emotion deserves attention. Not every cultural narrative deserves your trust. The mind is fertile ground, and if you don't plant truth, the world will plant weeds. Fear, self-doubt, resentment, confusion, lies about God, lies about yourself, lies about what matters and what's possible. That's not just psychology. That's spiritual warfare. This is one of the things I constantly see working in healthcare. People aren't just physically unwell. They're mentally trapped. They believe things that keep them stuck. They believe they can't change. They believe their situation is unfixable forever. They believe every fear their body whispers to them. They believe every label handed to them by someone in a white coat. They believe that whatever culture says has to be true. And once a person starts thinking that way, it affects everything. They stop fighting, they stop questioning, they stop examining, they stop taking ownership. They stop believing anything better is possible. That's why mental wellness matters. You can hand someone truth, but if their mind is ruled by fear, excuses, passivity, and confusion, that truth has a hard time taking root. And let's be honest, this isn't just something I see in other people. This is something I have to learn in my own life too. There are seasons where I'm physically exhausted, spiritually dry, mentally overrun, and just trying to survive what's in front of me. So I know firsthand, when your mind is depleted like this, everything feels heavier. You think small, you lose perspective, you stop leading your thoughts and start getting dragged around by them. That's why this branch has to be trained on purpose. A lot of people misunderstand mental strength. Mental strength isn't pretending everything's fine. It's not acting stoic or stuffing emotions down. It's not becoming cold. And it's definitely not posting quotes about resilience while living mentally undisciplined. Mental strength is simpler than that. It's the ability to stand firm in truth when the world is loud. It's the discipline to reject deception even when deception feels easier. It's the ability to pause, examine, and respond instead of reacting on impulse. That's what makes it powerful, because the world is designed to make you reactive. Reactive people are easy to manipulate. If someone can control your fear, they can control what you focus on. If someone can control what you focus on, they can control how you think. And if someone can control how you think, they can control what you tolerate, what you obey, and what you become. So mental renewal is not optional. Let's make this plain. How does the mind get hijacked? Usually not all at once. Usually it's through accumulation, too much noise, too much scrolling, too much fear-based media, too much shallow content, too much outrage, too much stimulation, too little prayer, too little silence, too little scripture, too little deep thought. These combinations weaken the mind fast because the mind doesn't get stronger by consumption alone. It gets stronger by disciplined input, reflection, and truth. A lot of people are mentally exhausted not because life is unusually impossible, but because their minds are being hit from every angle, never given rest, focus, or filtration. They wake up and immediately reach for a screen. They let social media set the tone for the day. They let news and opinions flood in before truth ever does. They react to 100 things that don't deserve their attention and don't serve them. Then they wonder why they feel anxious, angry, distracted, and drained. It's because inputs matter. If you poison the well, don't act surprised when the water tastes bad. So how do you fight back? How do you reclaim the mind? It's not with vague inspiration. It's with daily disciplines. So let's talk about some of those disciplines. Number 1, guard your inputs. Guard what gets in. You wouldn't pour poison into your drinking water and call that harmless. So stop letting poison into your mind. Cut back fear-driven media. Cut back empty entertainment. Cut back voices that leave you confused, compromised, cynical, distracted, or numb. That doesn't mean you live under a rock. It means you stop acting like constant exposure is wisdom. It's not. Colossians chapter 3 verse 2 says, "Set your minds on the things above, not on earthly things." That's a command, and it means that this takes intention. Number 2, test every thought. Test what shows up in your head. Not every thought is true. Not every thought is wise. Not every thought is from God. Ask better questions. Is this biblical? Is this true? Is this useful? Is this fear talking? Is this pride talking? Is this cultural programming talking? Is this a lie I've repeated so often that now it sounds like common sense? That's what it means to take thoughts captive. You interrogate them. Number 3, train your focus. Focus is a weapon because distraction is the default setting of the modern world. Everything is built to fracture your attention. Notifications, short clips, feeds, alerts, messages, endless novelty. And a distracted mind becomes a weak mind. So train your focus. Read something that requires thought. Sit in silence. Pray without grabbing your phone. Think on paper by writing thoughts down. Finish a thought before jumping to the next thing. This all sounds basic, and it is, but that's why it works. Number 4, master your reactions. The enemy loves emotional reactivity because reactive people don't discern well. They lash out, they panic, they assume, they escalate, they surrender their peace. So learn to pause. Not forever, just long enough to think, long enough to ask what's true, long enough to remember who God is, long enough to choose conviction over impulse. That pause isn't weakness, it's strength under control. Number 5, feed your mind with truth. Fill the mind with something better. Read scripture, meditate on it, study it. Read material that sharpens thought instead of numbing it. It doesn't have to be scripture, but it does have to be useful and true because an empty mind does not stay empty. It gets filled. So fill it on purpose with the right things. Now, this is where people get it wrong. They think mental wellness is some dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it is. Usually it's not. Usually it's quieter than that. It's built in daily reps. A better first input in the morning, a better filter during the day, a better reflection at night, a better habit of examining what took root. That's how the mind gets rewired. Not in theory, in practice. And that's where I want to get very practical. Just like we talked about the biblical 24-hour life with the physical branch, the same logic applies here. You don't need to fix your entire mental life today. You need to steward today's thoughts. That's enough. So here's a simple framework. Step 1, set the boundary. Before you consume any news, social media, or opinion-driven content, put truth in your mind first. Read 1 chapter of scripture, or read 10 pages of something that requires focused, serious thought. Then write down 2 things. First, 1 truth or idea that stood out. And second, how you intend to put that idea in use practically today. That's how you choose the first voice your mind listens to. Step 2, examine what took root. Before bed with screens off, reflect on the day. Ask what thoughts tried to dominate my mind today. Fear, irritation, distraction, self-doubt, confusion, bitterness. Then ask, was that thought true? Was it useful? Or was it misleading? Then write 1 truth from Scripture that counteracts that negative thought. End with a short prayer asking God to renew your mind as you sleep. That's enough. Step 3, share. Don't hide. The enemy loves isolation. He loves private mental battles that never get brought into the light. So don't hide. Share your progress. Talk to someone you trust. Post in a group. Join the Dream Root Wellness Network and let us know there. The point is, let other people know what you're working on because a lot of people are battling the same lies in silence. And sometimes the breakthrough starts when the lie gets spoken out loud and exposed. Let me close with this. A lot of people live like they're helpless in their own mind. Like they just have to accept whatever thoughts show up, whatever fear takes hold, whatever narrative gets repeated loud enough. No, you are not powerless. You're not called to be a passive consumer of modern narratives. You're called to be renewed. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 16 says, "For who has known the mind of the Lord so as to instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ." That matters Because if we have the mind of Christ, it means clarity is possible, freedom is possible, discipline is possible, renewal is possible. Not because you're mentally invincible, but because Christ isn't weak. So choose truth, choose clarity, choose discipline. Choose to stop letting the noise run your life. Train the mind, guard it, renew it, make it an instrument of truth instead of an easy target for lies, because the mental branch matters. And when that branch gets stronger, the whole tree benefits. So again, this week, do 3 things. First, set a boundary for your inputs each morning. Second, examine one dominant thought each night. Third, share what you're learning instead of hiding the battle. That's where the rewiring starts. Join me next week as we move to the emotional branch, because once the mind gets clear, the next question is this: what's happening in the heart?